Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Season 9, Episode 29, overall 469 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac products. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you. And you can email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. And Barry Cullen Chevrolet, it's been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969. And I've been a customer of Barry Cullen Chevrolet since the year 2000. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is also brought to you by Wellington Brewery at 950 Woodlawn Road West here in Guelph, Ontario. Check out their website, wellingtonbrewery.ca. Try a Welly on today. Please remember to drink responsibly as well. I hope everyone's doing well on this. I can't believe it's already Wednesday, December 18th, 2024. It's exactly 1 week from Christmas. So I want to wish everyone watching this live stream or on audio platforms, Merry Christmas. Or in some cases where people don't celebrate Christmas, I want to wish you a happy holidays and a happy new year coming up January 1st. So I'm excited to have our guest on tonight. Her name is the Gwynn Factor. She is a comedian, actor, TV host, producer, and she's just based out of the DMV area. And that's the Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. And we're going to bring her on for her first appearance on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Hello, Gwynn. How are you doing?
Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And is this your first Canadian talk show that you've been on?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I'm hoping it's going to get me one step closer to Drake.
Drake is from Toronto. And by the way, where I used to work, Drake used to come in to gamble. I used to work in the gambling facility. So Drake used to bring his stretch limo in with all his entourage, and he'd like to play the tables and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I'm one of the last few folks that's feeling Drake right now. But I still love Drake's music. Focus on the music, Drake. Focus on the music.
I have no music ability, so my best ability is to talk. I tried karaoke once, and I emptied out a bar in New York City. But it was fun, anyways.
Karaoke,
yes.
Oh wow, that's pretty hard to do too, Chris. That's a major accomplishment.
I did 3 songs, but I had a few drinks in me. When you have a few alcoholic drinks in you, it makes it a little bit easier. So how are you doing?
Oh, that liquid courage helps every time. Trust me.
Absolutely.
Trust me.
How's the weather in your part of the world?
Not doing too bad as it's cold, but probably not as cold as it is there where you are. We don't typically get snow until after the first of the year, after the holidays. I'm sure you could tell by my voice a little bit. I'm battling a little touch of a cold here, which is why I'm drinking my little hot tea to help with my voice. But as I said, I don't know what it is, but every winter when it seems like it's time for me to head west for shows, I get sick. I must be allergic to LA. I must be.
Well, I hope you feel better soon, and I want to say thank you for doing this. And right now it's 0 Celsius, 32 degrees here. We've had some snow.
Wow.
We've had some snow on and off here, but it doesn't stick to the ground that much anymore. Global warming. So even when we do get winter weather, it doesn't stick around long.
Oh, get out of here. So it's still below freezing, but it doesn't stick.
Nope. because it doesn't stay constantly cold anymore. And we have our 4 seasons here near Toronto, and I love it because our summers are hot and humid here. And I don't mind having fall and winter and spring. I actually like having 4 seasons. I know some parts of the world have 1 season and that's it. And for me, I
Right.
like a little taste of everything.
Yeah, I think I'd like a little bit more warmer though. I have Toronto on my bucket list to head to, hopefully in 2025, to do some comedy. The only part of Canada I've been to is the Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls, that's only about 90 minutes from where I live. That's our Las Vegas here in Ontario, is
I
Niagara.
know. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, they got casinos down here. Now, it's been a long time since I've been, so it's probably grown
Yes.
a lot. This was like back in, I don't know, 2000, at least 20 years ago was last time I
Yeah,
was in
oh
Niagara
yes, it
Falls.
has. Yes,
So,
it has grown by then.
but I loved it. You know what I was most surprised about is they have a whole wine country, like a little wine
Yes.
area, tasting things.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
went and did the taste. It was amazing. I loved it. I'm not a huge fan of the Canadian dessert wines. They were a little sweet for me, but I did bring some really good wines back. I was like, okay, kudos to Canada for making some wine, even though it's cold, but finding a way to use them grapes. That's what's up.
Yeah, ice. They have a wine called ice wine. It's
Right. It's a
really
dessert
expensive, but
wine.
yes, yes. And also our wine country in Niagara Falls is kind of like Napa Valley is in California.
Right. I enjoyed it. I spent a day out there just traipsing up and down the little winery coast. It's along the lake apparently. Um
Niagara on the Lake.
Correct. And it was nice. Now I went in April. It was still a little chilly to me in April, but they still had snow caps like on the water and stuff. And maybe that was before global warming was too bad because they actually still had snow that stuck to the ground back then.
What's your favorite wine since we're talking about it? Red or white wine?
I I'm not biased. I take them both. I mix them, I can have both red, white, but I do drink more reds. I feel like because then I have the excuse that it's the antioxidants of why I'm drinking the wine. So then I get to say it has its health properties and whatnot. But I
We
drink
have
white. I'm just getting my fruit quota in for the day.
and we have a viewer on. His name is Robbie. He's from Buffalo, New York. He's a
Oh,
fan. He's a fan of mine. He has his own podcast show called the 716 Sports Blizzard Podcast in Buffalo, New York. He's just saying hello, Chris. Go Bandits. He's a huge sports fan, and Buffalo gets a ton of snow. They get like
oh,
three,
yes, they
4 or 5 feet. They get hit, but parts of Buffalo get nothing. It's just funny where you are located in the world, where some areas get tons of snow and some
and some
don't
don't
get
get
any.
it at all. That's crazy.
Absolutely.
Well, welcome.
Absolutely.
Go
Maybe I
Bandits.
should be able. Yes, Robbie's a really good guy, and he does a good job on his sports show as well. Gwyn, before we get into
Well,
some
thanks for joining
questions,
us, Robbie.
absolutely, Robbie, thank you so much. I wanted to ask you this. Obviously, your first name's Gwyn, but how did you come up with the name The Gwyn Factor?
Well, there's a whole story behind this. Now, I'm going to start off with saying that it was initially maybe about 15, 20 years ago. I had some neighbors that moved in and they were like, girl, you are so entertaining. And this was long before I got into comedy. Uh, and they said, you are just so entertaining. They was like, a camera should just follow you around and film like all of your stuff just every day in your day-to-day goings. They felt I should be on a reality show. And they thought that the reality show should be called The Gwyn Factor. And so when I got into comedy and my very first show, I think I'd only been doing comedy a couple weeks at this point, and it was my first show. And the host comes up and he's like, so how do you want me to bring you to the stage? Like, what's your name? And it just popped in my head. And I said, The Gwyn Factor, and it stuck. And that's how I've got my name. So kudos to Keith and Molly Wilson for giving me my stage name that has stuck.
Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and when did you develop an interest in doing some stand-up comedy?
So I feel like I probably always been a born entertainer of some sorts. I grew up in the Midwest, but I had old school parents, that back in those days believed that you went to school and then you graduated, then you went to college and you got a degree and you got a good job. I wish I would have told my parents, I think I want to entertain the world. They would have probably beat my ass. But anyway, I ended up moving here to the DC area to go to school and ended up staying in this area. It's been a very, it's a very productive area. It has a lot of growth. The government is here, so it's a real hustle bustle city, like how the government is. But I just enjoy the diversity that DC has always brought. Um, and the people that you meet like from all over the world, like it's like living in Tokyo or New York, but yet without the size of it, because DC is actually a really small city. It's not big. I tell people the longer you live here, the smaller it gets, because everybody pretty much knows everybody. But it was actually a bout with cancer that I had 6 years ago. I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and after I beat cancer, I realized that maybe I wanted to do a little bit more in life than just working in the legal field. I'd been very successful for years in the legal field, um, but I just wanted to do something that I felt would give me some passion and do something for me, because at this point now I was in my early 50s. I'd raised 3 kids. I'd raised 3 husbands. I was like, girl, it's time to do something for you. So I decided I would try it out and see how it went. And I was like, if it works, maybe I'll start getting some paid shows in about 5 or 6 years, when I retire and can do it full time. But it escalated a lot quicker than, 4 or 5 years. It escalated to about a year. And next thing I know, I was pretty much booked every weekend, traveling across the country and spreading laughter. And COVID hit like right after I started, and I kind of thought that would slow things down. But I don't know. It was like something inside me was like, people need laughter even more now than ever. Because I mean, nobody alive had ever lived through a pandemic before. I mean, the last pandemic was back in the Great Depression. So, I mean, this was new to all of us.
That's
And we were having a hard time, adjusting and dealing with it. So I just found funny stuff to talk about between the cancer and the COVID. I was like, and my thing was too, I was like, I done survived cancer. The hell if I'm gonna let COVID take me out. I got things to do.
wanted to ask you about that. How tough was that dealing with cancer? And I guess it kind of changed your perspective on life. And what I love about this show is hearing my guest stories. And I started my new career during the pandemic. My other career, it was time to move on from. I wasn't happy and
Uh,
miserable. And I'm 52 now, and I want to prove to everyone age is just a number. And that's what I love about this show, hearing my guest story. But I just wanted to ask you about the breast cancer and how difficult it was to beat it, and the early detection, how critical that is as well.
well, let me just tell you, Chris, you're absolutely right. Early detection is the key. I still push, breast cancer in all of my sets to some degree. I don't, the whole set is not about cancer like when I started, but uh, early detection is what saved me. The They found cancer in the left breast, and then oddly enough, they found another type of cancer in the right breast. So I actually had 2 different types of cancer that had to be treated each completely differently. So it was about a year process of going through the cancer. But at the end of the day, I thought about it, and I had to try to find the happy, like Jamie Foxx said in his recent special, if I can laugh, I could stay alive. And that's pretty much what I did too, as well. And I just found the humor in it. I said, because I was in my early 50s and I had some really, really big breasts, but I loved my big breasts. And then I was like, most women, I don't care how big they get, we don't want to lose them because, that's connected with your womanhood, or at least you feel like it is. And then I thought to myself, I said, well, girl, you have been wanting a breast reduction for years. So look at God, here you got a breast reduction for free. All you had to do is get a little cancer. So yeah, so now I got these little wonderful little 20-year-old titties you see up here now. So I'm very pleased. God has been good. And I like to go around the country and just show off my brand new breasts. But early detection is key, though. It definitely is. I caught it on a mammogram. So I push and recommend. I do breast cancer tours. I do breast cancer events across the country, telling the story. And then, of course, stressing to women how important that mammogram is.
Gwen, for those that are watching, both male and female, watching live stream or on audio, what advice would you give to them if they just found out they have cancer? Because that can be devastating too. That just mentioning that word to somebody.
Again, like I said earlier, you've got to try to keep the humor in things. I mean, first of all, life is so serious now. I mean, we're dealing with things and people are dealing with things that some of us have never seen in our lifetime before. And you've got to try to maintain some level of humor about things. And again, if you can laugh and find the funny, you can stay alive and you can fight it, but you got to keep a positive attitude. I did at that point then decide that I needed to make some lifestyle changes, which comes, with any type of illness. And a huge part of the lifestyle change that I made was the fact that I worked a very stressful job. So I changed jobs to a little bit less stressful, and I do comedy, which is an amazing stress reliever, and it's way cheaper than therapy. So, so the comedy is kind of what helps me keep my stress levels low. I'm able to channel whatever is going on in my life or in the world and look at it through comedy and find something funny about it. So I tell people, you might need to change some of your diet, make sure you exercise. COVID was tough on us. A lot of people that were perfectly healthy people became sick during COVID from inactivity. There was a huge influx of high cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes, just from people sitting for almost 3 years and not moving and not eating well. So I pushed that very hard because I did find when I started doing comedy, I did start to kind of gain weight. It's hard out there on the tour roads. The food is bad. It's a lot of fried foods, a lot of late nights that you're working. But I found a way around it. And because I said, otherwise, if you don't, girl, you're going to be telling jokes to Jesus. So, and I wasn't trying to go there yet. I got some jokes for him, but not yet.
I was going to say, in the therapy part, yeah, it is cheaper than seeing a shrink in. When I talk to musicians too, they love their music because it's like a therapy to them, and also too, the pandemic was hard on everyone for 2 years, and people's mental health. How important is comedy, especially to people's mental health nowadays?
Oh, it's absolutely needed. I mean, you've got a whole generation of kids that some of them, their first few years of life have been virtual, like where they weren't around people. And so that's got to have had a major impact on their ability to socialize. So without humor, I mean, social media is good. It gets a lot of things out there, but that face to face and that personal, socialization contact is so important. I mean, we even do it with our dogs and animals. Like, it's important to take a dog to a dog park to socialize with other dogs. It's the same way with humans and kids. They need to be around other people and socialize. And again, it just falls back to, if we're not laughing, we're crying. And we don't want to cry. We need to laugh. We need to laugh.
Absolutely. And I was telling one of my other guests, social skills have shrunk since the pandemic, and I love my show. I do a lot of media work virtually, but now
Uh-huh.
I do a lot of live in-person interviews with coaches, players, athletes, people in general. And there's nothing better, as much as I love doing virtual, there's nothing better than in-person talking to people
Oh, yeah.
and meeting them in person. Absolutely.
I completely agree with that. I mean, we do live in a virtual world now. We've realized that we're able to do a lot of things, and I'm just grateful that we had this ability. Because can you imagine being alive in the pandemic back in the 30s, and there was like no social medias, no camera, no way to communicate with everybody? It's no wonder they called them the silent generation, because they didn't get to talk to anybody. It
And
had to be rough.
and I found a new career during the pandemic. So doing this show during the pandemic really got me through it.
Oh, I bet it did. I bet it did. I think we saw what podcasts like tripled during the pandemic to be able to allow people to get out and express and communicate. But I ain't gonna lie, I do not miss virtual happy hour. I do not miss virtual happy hour. I was
I was
like,
gonna
there's nothing like real in-person happy hour. I'm
I was
like, please.
gonna I was gonna ask you about that. I did watch some comedy shows virtually through Zoom from Flappers nightclub in Burbank. It's a
Yes.
famous. You probably have heard of it, and
Yes, I'm
it
actually
was
gonna
a
be there this weekend in
wow.
Flappers. I'll be there Sunday.
That's awesome. I was gonna say I enjoyed it, but when I talked to other comedians that went through, like, have been on my show about it, they liked it, but it's not the same as in-person stand-up comedy.
Oh no. So for me, I was just starting comedy, so I really hadn't experienced a lot of live comedy before COVID comedy came. But COVID Zoom comedy, as we call it, it's hard. It's very hard because, for one, a lot of times the audience is muted so that you can be able to hear the comic, which is good and bad because you can hear us, but the problem is we're not hearing the reactions to the crowd. And we typically feed on the reactions of the crowd. If the crowd is feeling the comedy, the more we're into it and the better our comedy is. So when you don't have that live crowd there, you're losing a huge aspect of what the comedian feeds on to give you a great show. It's not to say that it's still not funny. It just isn't the same as a live performance is. So I'm so glad we are back to live. Um, and occasionally I do still, do some virtual things. Not much at this stage, but it's just hard. It's hard for your timing when you don't hear the laughter, and then you're pausing to this dead silence, and you don't hear the laughs. And then the little boxes, and it looked like you're looking at an episode of the Brady Bunch, and all you see is these little boxes and little faces, and you can't really see if they're laughing or not. You just see a whole bunch of hundreds of little boxes and people in them. It looks like a giant episode of Big Brother.
Hey, since you brought up Flappers, would you like to promote your upcoming shows this week and your little tour in Los Angeles?
Sure. So yes, I'll be in LA. I'll be in three shows in LA. I'll be at the Block House in Northern Hollywood on Saturday, Victory Boulevard. I'll be at Flappers on Sunday at 5 p.m. in Burbank. And Monday, I'll be at the Sunset Rooftop in downtown Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard on Monday at 8 o'clock. Then in 2024, 2025, I have quite a few things going on, which they can find all of this, of course, on all of my social media platforms. But I'll be in Williamsburg, Virginia in January. I'll be back in New York at the end of February, the 26th through March 2nd, for the Black Women in Comedy Festival, where I'll be producing my own show that Friday at the Grizzly Pear. And it's called MILF, MILF. And that stands for Make It Laugh Forever. Make it laugh forever. I know where some of y'all's dirty minds was going, but it stands for Make It Laugh Forever. Have some Valentine's grown and sexy events coming up here in the DMV area on February 14th, and I'll be up in the Baltimore, Delaware area the week before, as I like to refer to as Side Piece Valentine's Day. You can catch me there on February 8th. Again, all of these shows are all promoted across my social media platforms at the Gwynn, GWYNN Factor, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Threads.
Wanted to ask you this: any plans to come to Canada at some point for comedy, and travel internationally, or come to Canada as well?
Well, absolutely. Comedians, we always want to go new places, meet new people and get new followings. I did actually last June meet a Canadian comic that I did a show with, and I apologize, I'm drawing a blank on her name right now. And she was like, they would love you in Canada. And so it is absolutely on the bucket list for me to come to Toronto and to come to Canada in 2025. So all of my Canadians that are on this broadcast, listen, please follow, because I will be coming through to a town near you in Canada very soon next year.
I wanted to also ask you this as well, and I should have wrote it down. So now I remembered it. I've asked some other comedians this too. What are some differences between performing comedy on the East Coast to the West Coast?
So what I gathered from it, so I'm an East Coast comedian. I find East Coast comedians, we tend to be more storytellers, where our comedy is more of a compilation of jokes put together in a story format, whereas on the West Coast, it's more what we call one-liners. Some of the best that you would know as one-liners would be like Rodney Dangerfield or Joan Rivers, where like Rodney would be like, take my wife, please, please take my wife. Like just quick little one-liners, which is very popular in LA, Vegas, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, and on the West Coast versus the East Coast. That's the biggest difference I've seen.
For those people watching our show live stream or on the audio, how would you describe your comedy style?
It's absolutely observational comedy, observational storytelling. As my tagline is with my comedy, I can only tell things the way I see it. I'm a lady, like I said, of a certain age. I'm almost 60 years old, and I've seen a lot in my lifetime. And I have, as my generation does, great opinions about things, which we then take and turn into comedy and bring it up on the stage. So it's a lot of stories about my various husbands, about my children, my blended families I've had over the years. As I like to say, most people get a divorce and they get a car or a house. I got an ex-wife and another daughter. I got a bonus baby. But those are the jokes I like to tell. I love my blended family. And so many families are blended now. I mean, I feel like I was probably in those early stages of blended families, like back during the Brady Bunch days. That was probably our first show of a blended family. And it's not always as easy as people think. It don't always come off like the Brady Bunch. Everybody don't have an Alice to hold it all together sometimes. So, but I just take those stories and turn them into jokes. Whatever things that are going on in the world that I find peculiarly odd and find funny ways to talk about them. But that's pretty much my comedy.
Gwynn, who were some of your early influences and mentors?
Would absolutely be Richard Pryor. Wanda Sykes, Joan Rivers, Red Fox, I would say was a big influence. Because like I said, I'm older, so some of the more older comedians is who I grew up sneaking and listening to the albums, like back in the day when your parents had the albums and you'd go and sneak and play them and listen to the comedy then because, we didn't have cable and TV. We had TV, but we didn't have, comedy and stuff on TV like that then. But I do remember watching like The Late Show. And I remember I was just so intrigued when Joan Rivers took over and it was a female and finally seeing that there were some women, in this male dominated industry. I don't know. For some reason, I've always seemed to drawn towards these male dominated industries as jobs, first the legal field and now this. But I just feel like, women have a lot to say and we're extremely funny. I feel like we have way more to talk about through children and childbirth and, like I said, raising families. We experience a lot and in the workforce of different things that we can bring funny to from our observations.
Since you started doing stand-up comedy, do you find there's more female comedians than ever before?
Oh, yes. Females. First of all, we live longer. So we're going to eventually take over everything because we just live longer than men. We just tend to take a little bit better care of ourselves, fortunately. And the same way women have started to consume the legal field, we are as well in the comedy realm as well. I'm seeing a lot more all women comedy festivals out there to give us platforms for comedy. And we are a force to be reckoned with. And we will be heard. Trust me, we will.
And then when you do get to Canada or come to Toronto, let me know because I definitely would like to see you perform. You were also nice enough to send me a little video clip from your Facebook page. Do I have permission to play the little clip?
Oh, sure. Go ahead. Roll them.
Okay, just let me know if you can hear. Let me know if you can hear the audio. I wear 7 different hats literally on this show. Not physical hats, but every hat. So just give me 1 second. And this is courtesy of the Gwynn Factor. And please remember to follow her on social media platforms.
What the hell is that?
Oh, this is my Black Friday gift to me. This is a jiggler. It's a jiggle machine. It's going to jiggle all the cellulite and weight off of me.
What?
Yeah, it's a jiggle machine.
A jiggle machine?
A jiggle machine, yes. I know it's like a hoverboard. There's a new version of it. But you get on here and then it jiggle you.
What the hell?
Hold on. I'm going to cut it off. You use this for like... And you just stand on here. And you jiggle, baby. I'm jiggling, baby. Look, look my ass. Look my ass. See it jiggle? See it jiggle? Yeah.
I guess.
Look at his ass twerking. Look at it. It's twerking.
I don't call that twerking.
Okay. It's throwing that ass in a circle. Throw that ass in a circle. Look at it. You see it circle? You see it circle?
Yeah, I see a circle. I see a circle, baby.
I'm telling you, I can feel the cellulite just falling off me, even off my tongue. Listen.
This shit crazy.
I'm jiggling, baby.
How much did that thing cost?
Don't ask. It was Black Friday special.
Thoughts on that video?
I have probably one of the best partners I could have in life, my Melvin. And sometimes the funny on the stage is funnier here in this house with me and Melvin. And that was one of my me and Melvin moments with my Black Friday machine. I have an obsession with ordering stuff online. It started as a kid when you would send that penny and you could get like 10 8-track tapes or 10 cassette tapes for a penny. Now it's Instagram stuff. Whatever I find on Instagram and Facebook, trust me, I done bought it and I'm sampling it and I'm trying it. So I found the jiggle machine. And I'm getting ready to do a 30-day challenge to prove that the jiggle machine does work and see if it jiggle all the cellulite off. So follow me on social media to follow my 30-day jiggle challenge at the beginning of the year.
Definitely. And wanted to get to this too, Gwen. You've already answered the second part of this question, but wanted to get to this to you. How much do you feel you've improved over the years as a stand-up comedian in confidence and performing in front of live audiences?
I would say 1,000%. I've actually gone back and looked at some of my early performances when I first started 5 years ago. And at the time, I was like, oh, those are pretty good. And now I'm realizing, I was like, they weren't bad, but they definitely weren't great in comparison to now. Comedy is definitely something that you have a natural talent for, but it is something that requires a lot of practice. And over time, you do become more confident and better on stage. I remember when I first started, maybe the first year, I wouldn't even hear the audience. I would come off the stage and I'd be like, were they laughing? Were they laughing? Because my total focus was completely on remembering and focusing on what I had to say, that I couldn't even focus on the audience at all to see if they were even enjoying it. It was like a year before one day I looked out and realized I could actually see them. It was almost like being in a Charlie Brown episode. Everything was blurry and all I heard was want, 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 because it was just in my mind, it was me focusing on what I was saying and telling the jokes and not being able to really engage with the crowd as much as I do now. But it's grown a lot. Traveling helps. I tell every comedian, get out of your hometown. Everyone knows how to make their hometown laugh because you know what the cultures are. You know what things are funny to them. You will truly become a great comedian when you travel to other cities and other countries and learn how to make all types of cultures laugh.
Stage fright. Have you ever experienced it, or have you seen a comedian have stage fright where they just froze up in front of an audience?
I've never had it. The one thing I've never had a fear of is getting up in front of people, and definitely never had a fear of making a fool of myself, because that's all part of the humor. I have a very, I guess, kind of Lucille Ball type of humor. I've seen some folks kind of slowly crash and die on the stage before, which is not fun to watch. It's very brutal. It's hard because, you know, everybody has bad shows. Nobody knocks it out the park every single show. But I've never seen anyone get up there and just completely freeze. But I've seen some folks kind of bomb. And I've had my share of it too. I went several years before somebody finally heckled me. And I was so glad to see it because I felt like we were getting to the point where the world is so politically correct. I was like, so what? We're not going to have any more hecklers anymore? Every comedian should be heckled at least once in their lifetime. It builds character.
Gwen, for those people that are watching this live stream or on audio and they're interested in getting into the comedy industry, what advice would you give to them?
Study. One of the first things I did was I decided to take some classes because just like with anything, I grew up in that generation of, you know, learning the craft. So I took improv classes. writing classes. If you're not big on writing, this probably isn't the career for you, because there's a lot of writing involved in this. And practice workshops and just getting out there, going to those open mics and honing on your craft. It's a lot of work. I will say I've done a lot of things in my life, but this is absolutely one of the hardest things I've ever taken under and decided I wanted to do, but it's so rewarding. So you get into it, what you put out of it. The journey's been amazing. I'm just grateful for the thousands and thousands of people that I've met, doing this over the last 5 years. And I wouldn't change anything about it. I hope to be able to be doing this 20 years from now.
I was going to ask you this later about the writing aspect. What do you enjoy the most about the writing aspect of comedy, and what are some of the hardest aspects? And do you feel for a young comedian they should learn the writing aspect before they do the on-stage performances?
I don't know if you necessarily have to write a whole lot. I was taught comedy's built 5 minutes at a time. We do 5-minute sets. Most open mics are 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes of comedy that you're doing at an open mic. So you typically come in with about 5 minutes of new material that you're trying to work to meld into your existing set. And then you have a 1-hour set. Writing, though, is very crucial, because if you're not writing every day, you're not adding new material. I also feel like as a comedian, we have so many things to talk about that you should be writing every day. It's like journaling is the way I look at it, which falls into that category of the therapy, because you can journal your thoughts out. And just because you write a joke doesn't mean that joke is going to make it into your set right then and there. It might not be ready. It might not be funny enough. Sometimes 6 months later, something will pop into my head and I'll be like, oh my God, that joke I wrote 6 months ago, this would be a hilarious punchline for this to build and now work that joke out. So there's ebbs and flows to this. It truly is. But writing is the key to it. If you're not writing every day, I don't know how well you'll do at this. You really have to, and it's not about the time, but you have to write. You have to get in the habit of trying to write 15. I try to write 15, 30 minutes every day.
Consistency too. Be consistent.
Correct.
And the more reps you do of anything, you'll get better as well. I'm going to ask you this too, before we get to this question. When you do a live performance, do you like to open up a show? Do you like to be the middle show, or do you like to be the finishing act?
That's a good question, Chris. I've never had anybody ask me that question before. I have no preference, because what people don't realize is each one of those is a different role in the show. I've done all of them. I've hosted, I've opened, I've featured, I've headlined. But each one of those is a different role. I do a lot of hosting because I produce a lot of shows. Hosting is actually more being a hype person. You're doing material, but you're engaging with the crowd. It's a lot more crowd work. You're engaging the crowd to get them ready for the actual comedians that are coming to the stage. So I like hosting because you kind of control the flow of the show. You control, if the crowd is not real energized, it's your responsibility to bring them up. If they're super hyped from the last comedian that just killed it on the stage, then now it's time for you to know how to bring them back down to get them ready to receive the next comedian. The opener, I feel like, kind of sets the bar and the tone for the entire show. So I love opening. Featuring, I feel like you're right in the middle of keeping the show going. So your objective then is to keep what has happened early, to keep that energy going in that direction, to keep it going for the headliner. The headliner has a lot of responsibility because now you're the last one to go on stage and you have to kill it. You have to be the funniest one that they've seen through the night, and hold it down from anywhere from 40 to 60 minutes of comedy. But they're all very important roles and each one is different. And it's important. I don't think a lot of comedians know the role. And I try to impress that as much as I can to new comedians. Take some workshops, learn comedy etiquette, learn the different roles in a comedy show. As far as what's expected of you, learn not to run the light, learn what the light means, those kind of things. And these were all things when I first started, I had no clue about, but I learned very quickly. Fortunately, I'm a quick learner, but and I was grateful that I had some comedians early on to help me. I've studied under DC's own Lawrence Owens, who's a huge comedian here in the DMV area. And I've studied under Michael Collier, who's a famous comedian out of LA. And so they've both been very integral comedy grow, be it through the business side of comedy or through the actual stage performances.
Got to ask you this as well. Do you have any rituals or superstitions before a live performance? And also, how important is branding for being a stand-up comedian?
Did you say branding?
Branding, yeah, branding your marketing yourself.
So my ritual, and I do have a ritual, is started for my very first night because I had 2 shows. It was a Friday night and I just got off work and I had a 7:30 show and then I had a 9:30 show. So from like 7 to midnight, you're at these shows. So I fixed a huge cup of coffee and I put a little, as I like to refer to, back then it was my liquid courage, my Baileys in my coffee. And that became my routine because I was tired and I was like, how you going to stay awake during these shows as old as you are? And so coffee became my routine. And I like to listen to Beyonce, but only the Renaissance CD. I like to hear that hype disco and the house music and my coffee. That's my routine before every show that I've stuck with. It works for me. And so I guess I kind of call it luck. If I feel like I don't do it, then my show's not going to be, in my mind, as great as I would like it to be. Branding is super duper important in this day and age. I think it's always been, but more so now than ever with social media. And I was fortunate enough to, like I said, have gotten a name that worked well with branding. And then during COVID, when COVID first started, I had a very short haircut that I used to wear. It was sort of like a little Halle Berry pixie cut. And when we could not get to the salons and get our hair done, my hair grew out and it basically turned into this, which kind of went crazy on the internet the first time I posted a picture of it and people loved it. I mean, I was trying to advertise merch that I was branding, some Gwynn Factor t-shirts and things, but nobody could care less about them damn t-shirts. All they was talking about was my afro. And so I quickly realized that how important branding was, and this afro became a huge part of my branding, which I am stuck with now. Melvin can't stand it. He says it blocks the mirrors. He can't see when he's driving because it's so big. But I love the afro. I'm always recognized across the country for this afro. And trust me, I pray every night. I'd be like, please let these follicles keep frolicking so I can keep having this thick afro, because I swear to God, I cannot wear a wig or do the Steve Harvey. I cannot do a toupee. So branding is very important. Like I said, I've just been lucky. My business acumen background, I believe, was a huge help for branding my comedy career so quickly and in such a short period of time. So that's where your business and still going to school comes in handy.
Absolutely. And before we wrap this up, Gwen, how competitive is the comedy industry in 2024? And you already answered the other part of the question. How competitive is the comedy industry in 2024, and how much of a tool social media has been as well, being a comedian nowadays?
So it's very, very competitive. Social media has been a blessing and a curse from a stand-up comedian's point, because we now compete against what we call internet comedians, which are those folks that do the sketches on social media. Uh, the comedy industry has changed from it was the promoter's responsibility, um, to fill the seats and get butts in seats, to now it falls more on the entertainer. It's about social media numbers. If your social media numbers are not to a certain point, um, there's a lot of venues that just won't even look at you until your numbers are at a certain point. They will hire a social media sketch person over an actual stand-up comedian person, whether they're funny or not, because at the end of the day, they have 100,000 followers and they will put butts in seats. It's not even so much about being funny anymore. It's more about the business of comedy. So it is very competitive, because we're now not only competing against just other stand-up comedians, you're competing against every person across the world that has decided to use social media as a platform to be funny. So, but if you're true to what you're true to, as I'm true to the stand-up game. I mean, at the end of the day, I do try to do some social media stuff because we have to, and it's still a learning process for me. I'm still learning this. I'm not that generation of the computers. Um, so I learn as I go, but I'm still a true old school art form of standing on stage and doing old school stand-up comedy.
What are some fun facts about the Gwynn factor? And yeah, just what are some fun facts about the Gwynn factor?
Uh, let's see. Some fun facts are, I'm originally from Illinois, from the Midwest, right outside of St. Louis, um, in a town that was referred to back in the 70s as the murder capital of the nation. And then I moved to DC in the 80s, and it became the murder capital of the nation. So, um, just a little fun fact, I'm not a murderer. It's just clearly murder seems to follow my toxic ass pretty much. But three times, as I like to tell, that's a little fun fact about me. But after three marriages, now I've discovered I'm more of like emotional support young men now, but with old names though. Like, if you ain't got a junior or a second or a third behind your name, no. I need a young man with an old name. Because as I've discovered with comedy, I'm gonna need somebody that can push me around, somebody that's gonna outlive me to take care of me during all these comedy years. And of course, somebody with some good ass insurance. It's all about the health insurance, because we don't get that here like you do in Canada, Chris.
But ours is not. This is technically we don't pay for, but are way higher than yours in the States. So and now our government is cutting stuff. And there's a lot
Oh,
of people over here that are going to the States because our healthcare has suffered from the cuts from the government. So yeah, our healthcare is still in
oh,
place, but it's not free like everybody thinks it is. It comes through our paychecks and taxes.
oh, okay. But everybody still got it though. You still got health care though. That's cool.
We do, yes. It's not perfect, but it's yeah. But
It
and
works.
even when I go to the States, I have to make sure I buy travel insurance because it's just crazy for medical bills. So I always make sure if I'm traveling to another country to make sure I have health care and all that too.
Right. I got you. Ooh.
By the way, we have a special person watching us tonight. She's from the DMV area too. She's a comedian. Her name's Angela Robinson. She's been on my show about a month ago. She's a stand-up comedian.
Hey, my girl, Angela Robinson.
Yes, she's
Bring
a
her
really
on
good
in
person,
here.
and she came on my show about a month ago, and she's just watching now. So I wanted to give Angela Robinson a shout out.
Oh, I thought she was going to come on. That's my girl. I love Angela Robinson. I have never in my life, let me tell you, she's a limber somebody. She can do, did she do the splits for y'all on the show?
No.
Oh, you got to get her back, get her to do the splits next time. It's an amazing thing. I've had her on some shows I've done before, and I made sure, I was like, girl, we outside. It's concrete. You're going to scrape all that inner thigh meat up. Let me get a rug down here for you so you can do these splits. But yes, big shout out to Angela Robinson, my girl. I love Angela Robinson. Small world, isn't it?
It really is a small world, and it just, this technology really does shrink the world down, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. But you got to love it, being able to bring people together like this, because that's what we need.
Absolutely. And I'm going to say this, you have an open invite to come back on my show again, and maybe I can get you and Angela to come on my show at the same time in the future.
Oh, that would be awesome. Angela, she's a hoot. Oh, she's funny. She's super funny. She's way funnier than me.
Absolutely.
Okay? Way funnier than me. But I do appreciate you having me, Chris, on the show. And again, just to reiterate, all of my social media, follow me on all social media platforms. It's the THE Gwynn, GWYNN Factor. Hell, follow me on Cash App, Venmo, Zelle, all that good stuff. Go on. I appreciate y'all.
Any plans for a website in the future?
No, I'm still trying to master this social media thing. That's got me pretty tired. Maybe when I retire, I'll set up a web page. I don't really think our web page is really that big in this day and age now. Because I feel like it's more about social media.
I have social media, every social media out there, but I have a little website. It's off beacons.ai.
Okay.
It's sort of like Linktree. Basically, people go on that website and they can see all my social media sites and all my media work. So I have a website, but it's not a giant, complicated one. It's just basically a basic, simple one.
Okay. I may work on that. Maybe I'll put that on my bucket list for 2025. But again, I'm still trying to figure out TikTok and Threads. Okay. I seem to have mastered Instagram, but now I'm on TikTok and Threads. But again, follow me on all those social media platforms.
And before I let you go, Gwen, do you have a question for me? Ask CDP a question to put me on the hot seat.
Who do you see going to the Super Bowl this year, Chris?
Well, I am a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, who are actually playing the Washington Commanders this week. So I see
yes, they are. That's why I brought it up.
Philadelphia taking on, I think, Kansas City. I think it's going to be Philadelphia, Kansas City, part 2 in the Super Bowl this year.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna remember that, and we're gonna see what happens, because I have faith that my Commanders is gonna make it. They're gonna command their way all the way through. I believe this is our comeback year. We making a comeback.
By the way, it's too late to show you now, but I collect sports memorabilia. I have a small, mini-sized Washington Redskins helmet. Before they changed their names. So I'll have to show it to you the next time.
My little Redskin. I've got. I'm actually down here in my billiards room where I have a lot of Redskin old memorabilia as well. I've got an old picture of Sean Taylor. And RG3 and a variety of different things. So I kind of collected too. My Melvin, he's a big Washington Commanders fan too.
Well, good luck to your Commanders on Sunday against the
Good
Eagles
luck,
at 1
Philly.
o'clock. And if your Commanders upset Philly, then I'll be eating a little bit of humble pie.
I will be texting you, reminding you to help you and give you a spoon for that pie. Okay.
Okay, deal. And hey, and just give me a little bit of time tonight, and I will send you the video, the audio
Oh,
copy of this show, and I will break it down into some real like 30, 45-second clips if you'd like to post on your social media as well.
great. I absolutely will. Thank you again, Chris.
Thank you so much, Gwynn, for coming on. Everybody, please follow the Gwynn Factor, stand-up comedian out of the District of Columbia, Maryland, Virginia area. Please follow her on all her social media platforms, and you have an open invite to come back again, Gwen. And I want to wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas, Happy New
Thank
Year, and
you.
you're welcome. And we'll
You
definitely have
as
you back on
well.
our show again. I will.
You as
It'll
well.
come. It's only a week away right now.
I know. I'll see you in 2025. Have a wonderful, safe holiday, Chris.
You too. Thank you so much again, Gwen. Have a great night and continued success and safe travels out to Los Angeles.
Thank you. Y'all been great. Thank you,
Thanks,
Canada.
Gwen.
Bye.
Thank you, Gwen. Bye. All right, guys, that concludes season 9, episode 29 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Again, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership and Wellington Brewery here in Guelph. Speaking of Wellington Brewery, this Saturday, December 21st, from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Wellington Brewery at 950 Woodlawn Road West here in Guelph, Ontario. They are doing a fundraiser in support of Tangle's Lead Canine Rescue Group. It's called Last Call Christmas Market. Again, this Saturday, December 21st, 12 to 4 at Wellington Brewery. Vendors will be there. There'll be dogs, beer, and holiday cheer. Join us this Saturday and get the last minute Christmas shopping in while supporting a local charity. We will be offering Santa and pup pictures for a donation with Tangle's Lead Canine Rescue Group from 1 to 3 p.m. with amazing local vendors from 12 to 4. Our Wellington Brewery tap room and retail store will be open for dining, samples, and to purchase for the holidays. Check out their website for more information, wellingtonbrewery.ca. Try a welly on, and please remember to drink responsibly as well. The next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, sponsored by barrycullen.com and wellingtonbrewery.ca, is going to be tomorrow night, Thursday, December 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern, with my special guest, Jenna Loran. She is a singer, songwriter out of British Columbia. She's quite talented, and she is also on TikTok. So please check out Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show Thursday, December 19th at 8 p.m. with my special guest, singer, songwriter, Jenna Loren out of British Columbia. As we wrap up this show, guys, as always, if you're looking to adopt a pet, check out the Cambridge and District Humane Society, 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Telephone number 519-623-7722, extension 0, or visit their website at cambridgehumanesociety.org. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show again is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now on Instagram. And please make sure you hit the follow notification. I do have a website. Check it out, beacons.ai. Steve Palme. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show again is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West here in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles. Great selection of all electric vehicles and their Cadillac products. Call the dealership at 519-824-0210, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet, it is winter time now. At Barry Cullen Chevrolet, winter tires help keep you safe on the road. You can get up to $120 in instant rebates with the purchase of a set of 4 tires. Rebates vary by manufacturer. This offer ends by December 31st, and Barry Cullen Chevrolet has been a proud sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show since September of 2022. So if you're looking for winter tires, check them out at barrycullen.com. Live with CDP t-shirts coming soon. If you're interested in pre-ordering one, please send me a DM tonight and very soon, and they're going to be $20 in price in any color. I am a content creator, and you can follow this content creator on TikTok at Live with CDP. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcasting, check out StreamYard.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. The audio version is on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, YouTube Music, and Good Pods. And make sure you subscribe. Finally, guys, you can email Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpame19@gmail.com. And also, guys, if you'd like to support my radio work and media show, I am on PayPal at cpame19@gmail.com. And also, guys, if you'd like a personalized video from yours truly for Christmas, I am on Cameo. Check my profile out at cameo.com/Chris Palme. And again, all the proceeds will go to my radio and media work as well. And also, I am raising money for the Cambridge District Humane Society. I am selling 2025 Cambridge District Humane Society calendars for $10 cash, or you can PayPal me at cpalme19@gmail.com. $10. They did a great job on these calendars, and if you'd like one, please DM me as well. And I want to give a shout out to a couple of agencies, especially at this time of the year here in Guelph. The GuelphFoodBank.ca. They could use cash donations and food help right now. Our food banks across Canada are at a whole all-time high. So please, wherever you're living, considering making a cash donation or a food donation to your local food bank. Here in Guelph, it's GuelphFoodBank.ca. And also, too, whether you're in the States or in Canada, please, if you have any clothes that you don't wear anymore, check out SalvationArmy.ca as well. And a couple of shout outs to businesses I support: Savaki Flame at 206 Speedville Avenue here in Guelph, 519-265-4200. They have a great selection of breakfast menu, lunch items, and they're a small business, again, located at 206 Speedville Avenue here in Guelph, SavakiFlame.ca. And also, another business I want to give a quick shout out to is Twice the Deal Pizza, the official pizza of Chris Palme. They're located on 715 Wellington Road West in Guelph, right by the Sam's Fryer and Tim Hortons as well. So Twice the Deal Pizza, good prices, good food. So check them out as well. And that's about it, guys. I want to say thank you again to my guest tonight, the Gwynn Factor stand-up comedian out of the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia, for coming on our show as well. And before we wrap this up, if anyone out there would like to become a guest on my show and they have a unique story to share on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, you can contact me again at cpalme19@gmail.com or through DMs on social media. And that's about it for tonight, guys. Again, thank you to the Gwynn Factor for coming on. And again, the next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet and Wellington Brewery, will be Thursday, December 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern with special guest Jenna Loran, a singer-songwriter out of British Columbia. Please check out her music on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. She's quite talented, and I met her through TikTok as well. So Lorenz on tomorrow night. I hope everybody has a great night, and thank you everyone for watching this live streamed and on audio platforms, and to my sponsors, Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership and Wellington Brewery. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow night again for See the 9, episode 30 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show.